Hey, how are you today? This is Josh Patrick, and you're at the Sustainable Business. And my guest today, and I hope I get his name sort of right, is Giridihar Akkineni. Did I get it close?
Yes, thank you.
And he
Yes,
is
yes.
the owner and CEO of Akin Cloud, which is a staff recruiting platform for people who provide temporary employees. And we'll probably get a little bit into what temporary employees are and how to use them appropriately. But I want to start today's podcast with a little bit of a curiosity on my part. Is Yuridar was talking to me before we started that he started out with 50 employees, went down to 3, and then grew his business again. So what happened?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on this podcast, Josh. I think you've been doing a great job. I actually watched a few of those in the past. It's been a while. Uh, and I think is it 4+ years now you've been doing it, the podcast? And I think the content that you put out is very, very helpful for people like me, especially to answer your question. Times like the hard times when we have to shrink back to 3 employees. This was in 2009, June, and we are at the peak of the biggest recession that the mankind has to go through. And that was because when we launched our platform in 2006 November, at the Staffing World in Vegas, I remember, was a great place to be. We had a great response on the concept of how we can have an all-in-one platform rather than these staffing companies or temporary staffing companies you might call, using different bits and pieces of different various softwares, having all of that together in one suite, and having all web-based instead of client server and various other means. So it was well received, and we had many staffing companies seen the value of it, adopted our platform very well, and we grew up to over 50 employees here in Nashville. We actually had the entire floor of this building back then, which we have taken over again now recently. But staffing industry, what we have seen has been the last industry that was affected by the recession, because once these corporations start laying off people and they need temporary staff, but when those shrink, the staffing industry shrinks as well. So we have lost many customers that we assigned because they just went out of business, and we had not we could not do anything because of the economy. So we just have to go through it, and we know we have a great technology at hand that we built, and we've been confident. Of course, even though it took longer than ever to come out of that recession, we actually focused same time continue to invest into our platform. And honestly, we learned so many lessons that we joke around that there's nothing that we can experience that we have not. So that was us coming out of the recession, growing back to close to 80 employees now.
So, what was the biggest lesson you learned?
The biggest lesson is, first of all, how to sustain, how to be, how to quickly respond to the circumstances, especially that are not in your control, but also how to pay attention and listen to things that your customers say, your customers want, and the industry moves. Where when you sign up to provide them something that is going to make them more efficient, what are the change? Be on top of the changes in the market. So those are the two critical things that we have learned through these years.
Yeah, it just seems so obvious that, of course we would listen to our customers, but the truth is, most of us design a product from what we think they need, and we never bother to ask whether it's something they think they need.
Right. So my background is technology. I'm from a business family. This is my seventh venture, of course, the longest haul, right? But I have experience in technology. I have undergrad in computer hardware, master's in computer software. So, and I'm also the chief architect of our platform. So what I do is I'm constantly in touch with our customers, along with being on top of trends that happen in the industry. We work very closely with American Staffing Association. We work very closely with staffing industry analysts. We work very closely with various staffing associations in the US. But also, I work very closely with our customers and all of them have a direct access to me. So when I talk to them, I listen to their problem, and I gained experience through these years. Like when I'm talking to them, when I'm listening to their problem, I can actually design a solution on the fly, and I can relate to them talking back in a way. Of course, we go through the process of designing it, going through the testing process. We go through the beta and see how we measure the results of is this what it is, even before we build and try to force our customers to use it. We work with them from step one through all the way where we measure it to be efficient and is providing the results for them. That's the main difference. That is what we have learned.
So when you work with or let me ask you this, what do you think is the biggest change in the last 5 years in the staffing business that you guys have helped your customers deal with?
Well, honestly, everything, because the generation has changed to millennials. Now, gig economy is getting more popular. People, the young generation has their own preferences. They are more tech savvy. But when we started in 2006 and when we launched the platform and we matured it through 2010 and 11, we learned that the market conditions completely changed. For example, simple example, for recruiting and salespeople, back then, they were being paid commissions on placements where you send an invoice or a placement or whatever it is. But now things change that they get paid on cash received. So if you have to track all that, where you have to track the performance of a recruiter or a salesperson and hundreds of candidates that they're dealing with, and then you have to track all the way from shortlisting to submissions to coordinating with the hundreds of customers to make those placements. And once you make those placements, coordinate with thousands of temps on a weekly basis for you to be able to gather the timesheets and expenses and then create templates in hundreds and thousands of formats that your customers would request or mandated, but also to be able to pay these thousands of temps on a weekly basis accurately, on time, being able to comply with all the state and federal compliances and all. So having all of this prior to the recession and after the recession, things have changed completely 100%. So we realized it's not just something, as you said, we build a product feature and try to have our customers use it. We kind of rebuild the entire platform starting in 2011 again, to be more dynamic, to be able to adopt these market changes, but also our platform is going to be the core of the staffing businesses. But there are many trendy tools that come and go all the time. If you remember, it used to be these job fairs that were very popular back long ago, decades ago. Then we have these .com and job boards online. And then we have social media. Now we have tools like texting, video conferencing, video interviewing, various other tools that came in. They have automatic background. There are companies that use AI, looking at your profile socially and can predict and all those tools. So it was very important for us to make our platform to be dynamic, not just work within, but also with all these other changes. All of that put together, if you try to map what has changed, it's everything changed, but also all of these together now.
You know what the biggest change is, I think, that happened to you? At least this is from where I'm sitting, And by the way, the staffing industry are the temps that work in businesses. For folks who may not know what we're talking about when we're talking about the industry we're talking about.
Yeah.
But the biggest change that I think has happened, in the world of what you're providing, which is an all-in-one solution essentially, is that when you started in 2007, 2008, the cloud was just sort of starting to appear. And the term SaaS, if you said SaaS in 2006, nobody would know what you're talking about, which, by the way, is software as a service. Now, I think my suspicion is the CRM, the big CRM company, probably was just starting around that time, Salesforce.
Right.
And nobody, I tried using Salesforce back then and it was horrible. I mean, it wasn't not nearly as good as Act was, which was the CRM at that time. But you had to have Act and you had to have a Facebook client, and you had to have all these different programs. That's gone away because what you've done is you've integrated all the tools that you need if you're in the staffing business on one platform, and probably all those tools talk to each other. Am I correct about that?
That it's not talk to each other. They are in one piece together.
Well, from a non-techie like me, it appears
Right, right. So
it appears they
yeah,
talk to each other.
right. So what you said is exactly right. Back when we launched in 2006 and 2007, of course, it was called SaaS, software as a service back then. But before then, it was called on demand, and before then, it was called .com, and now it's called cloud. But it's the basic thing where you have everything to be accessible in a simple browser from anywhere in the world, that you can just log in. And Salesforce has been a very successful early adopter of that technology and a pioneer in that business. Yes, you're right. So what we provide is Salesforce provides CRM. There are other companies that provide applicant tracking system, human capital management, accounting, timesheets, invoices, many other big companies that provide bits and pieces of it. What we provide is all of that together in one simple application where you just log in and it's all there. Either you are a salesperson in a staffing company, you are a recruiter in a staffing company, or you are a person onboarding HR manager in a staffing company, or you are responsible to accounts payable, accounts receivable, being able to create invoices, or you are responsible for a payroll. All of that, or everybody in a staffing company that's sitting in the staffing office are able to use one single application and they're logging into the same thing. And that helps in a lot because you have one silos of data now instead of all of your data. That kind of helps for reporting, prediction, and various other things. And all of this makes it very easy and very attractive for the temps as well, because these people are looking for a job, sometimes like industrial, on a day-to-day basis. They show up at the staffing company office, either this corner or that corner of the street every day, and you need to be able to match them with jobs. So literally, there are people out there depending on the staffing companies, but you also need to have savvy technology and latest tools to be able to attract this talent to come to your staffing and work for your staffing. So you might be able to make more business than your competition down the corner, right? So that's all together has been helped. I can share one example is what to relate what you said before and after in the early adoption of .com and now cloud is when we launched initially, I think about 2013 or 14, we used to have questions from our prospects, and our salespeople have to answer them. Is people were curious, okay, where is my data? How secure is it? Where are you keeping it? Okay, what's your data center? They're not technical, but they have those concerns. And I don't believe we have heard any such questions in the last 3 4 years at all, because the infrastructure of the cloud and the advancement of it, and people have realized how they are living on the cloud, either backup from their smartphone or from their PC or anything. It's all in cloud now. So yes, definitely things has turned around and changed for better adoption.
Well, people certainly are more trustful of it now than they were before. And in my opinion, you still need to ask the questions about where are the data centers and how are they mirrored and what sort of security is there, because depending on what you're using for a cloud, it might be a really good one or it might not be such a good one. So it's a question I would always encourage people: if you're going to go to a cloud-based service, know where it is.
Yeah, in fact, we make that information public. Like if people go to Akken cloud.com, which is our website, it not only has all the features and all that stuff, but it also discloses uh, where our data center is, how secure it is, what we do to keep it secure, and why these hundreds of our customers doesn't even bother about the security and all. They rely on how we monitor it 24/7, how we have people that catch things. We had several uh, of our other competition systems going down, but we build this infrastructure from ground up. Yeah, it's very critical, but also we make it very open. So when we talk to prospects and all, they already know, or in fact they have some certain expectations these days in regards to security, availability, service, and all, that you need to be able to meeting that on a daily basis.
Yeah, that makes actually great sense to me. So, what do you consider your biggest challenge today in your business?
For us, the biggest challenge today in our business is to be known, to be in the known, I would say. Even though we've been in business for so long, we bootstrapped and we are growing fast. Our customers has definitely helped to spread the word around what we do and all. But last couple of years has been good, that the market is hearing more of us. I would say the marketing that we have done, it helped, definitely helped for inbound leads rather than us calling out. So we literally have been growing 100% just on the inbound leads, at least last 12 to 18 months. So there's a lot to do. We are not the biggest in this space. We have companies that are over 200 million in revenue, annual revenue, that we compete with on a daily basis. That we win because of not only for the technology we provide, but also for the service that we've been providing to thousands and hundreds of our customers.
So, are you a venture funded company or are you privately funded?
We are privately funded at this point, and we've been having fun growing it the way we like, and we have enough growth for us to be able to continue to have this fun, but also I enjoy it because I'm in the mid. As part of the customers. I talk to them. My background is before Akin Cloud. I had my own IT staffing company, so I'm from the industry,
Oh,
and
okay.
that is how I've known the problem that existed, because .com, Y2K, and .com were the golden eras where I had my IT staffing company and I grew it very fast. But because of the .com crash, I had several .com companies, customers disappear overnight, and we had these 100 millions of uh, bill invoices pending out there. And I remember we showed up at one of their offices in New York in this uh, tall building, and the only thing you can see coming out of the elevator is a huge iron door. That's it, nothing. So uh, things like that. And the reason why I lost money in that business is because at that time there was no solution to coordinate between my teams. My sales and recruiting teams have been placing people uh, for commissions, and as soon as they place and people start working on it, they used to make commissions, but they were not connected with the back office people where these invoices were piling up and people were not being paid on time and we were not receiving all that. So that kind of made me go out and look for a solution, and this was in 2002, right? And even today, I could not find a solution comparable to apples like our platform. Yeah, there are solutions out there, the biggest of the companies that kind of offers some pieces of what we do, but not in A to Z.
So something I find very interesting, you're in what I call a vertical market, which means you built a solution for one industry. And that's my very favorite type of software company, by the way. They're rarely venture funded because they rarely are going to grow big enough to attract the interest of a venture company. But boy, the profitability of a well-run vertical software company is quite good. And the other side of the ballpark is the best vertical software companies I've ever seen, and this is almost across every industry I look at, is that the owner of those companies comes from the industry and they used to have operating companies.
Right. So that experience definitely helps to understand the customer base and what their requirements and where the industry is. But you're right. Typically, the software companies or technology companies focused on verticals are in the biggest in the world. But just to share the size of the staffing industry in the U.S., it's almost 130 billion in revenue. I think in 2018.
well,
That's how big it is.
it's a huge industry.
Right,
But at the
right.
end of the day, a company, your biggest software suppliers in your industry do $200
Yeah,
million a
yeah,
year. In the
yeah.
VC world, that's, chump change. If you're not in the,
I understand.
yeah, if you're not in the
Right.
billions, they have no interest in you whatsoever. So
Uh, that's true for some people.
private equity will
Yeah,
have an interest in you,
yeah,
but VCs won't.
right.
It's
So,
different worlds between the two. But
right. So the biggest market opportunity in the US to sell to the staffing industry is close to $2 billion.
right, but
Uh,
that's the whole industry.
right. So there's a lot of leadway here for us to grow. Yeah, you're right. If you want to be public, and yeah, I mean, not every company could be Salesforce or Facebook or
Nor
Microsoft
do
or
they need
Google.
to be. I mean,
Yeah, right.
I'm going to tell you, I know lots of guys own vertical companies,
Yeah,
and they're worth 50, 60, 70 million dollars, and
yeah,
they can't figure out how to spend the money they've got already. So what's the purpose?
yeah.
um, Unfortunately, Giridhar, we are out of time.
Sure.
You did mention your company before and how to find them. Could you tell us again how to find you, how to find your company, in case somebody might be interested in?
Yeah, so if you go to online and type in www.akkencloud.com, that's ackencloud.com. That's our website, and you can submit a form if you want to contact us, or you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. We have a good marketing team that keeps us active on all the social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I think these days with the pictures. So that's where you can find us easily. And we are located in Nashua, New Hampshire, just outside 40 minutes Boston. So we are here and happy to have anybody connect with me, continue the conversation, or share my experience if they think I can help.
Cool. And I also have an offer for you. I have, well, it's not a new discovery. It's actually a discovery I made when I was 24 years old, which is cash is king in all businesses, especially privately held business. If you don't have enough cash, you can't play the game anymore. So I developed a program I call Cracking the Cash Flow Code, which talks about what you need to do as a private business owner to go from not having enough cash to how to have an excess amount of cash. And with that in mind, I developed an infographic which talks about the 5 steps of creating cash flow freedom in your business and your life. It's really easy to get. All you have to do is go to my website, which is www.sustainablebusiness.co. That's .co, not .com, /cash flow. www.sustainablebusiness.co /cash flow. You can get the free infographic, download it, take a look at it, give me a call and talk to me about it. I love talking about that stuff. So thanks a lot for being with us today. We're with Giridihar Akkineni. I'm Josh Patrick. You're at the Sustainable Business. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope to see you back here really soon.